Imagine every area, rural area, every urban area, all the 50 states and territories of our country, and people everywhere being empowered, energized to be able to exercise their talent to the fullest without any holding back, without any constraints. Imagine that.
This is the Discovery Files podcast from the U.S. National Science Foundation. I'm Nate Potker. Artificial intelligence is becoming ubiquitous, transforming Americans' daily lives. AI-driven technology is promising practical solutions to global challenges, from agriculture to healthcare and education. NSF-supported AI research advances breakthroughs that push the frontiers of knowledge, benefit people, and are aligned to the needs of society. We're joined by Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan, the 15th director of the U.S. National Science Foundation. Dr. Panchanathan has more than 3 decades of experience as a computer scientist and engineer, where he's contributed to advancing research innovation, strategic partnerships, entrepreneurship, global development, and economic growth. Dr. Panchanathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
I'd like to start with a little bit of background. Yes. And in your case, we're talking about AI today, and I want to get into your computer vision background a little bit. Could you tell us what computer vision is, and how do we see it in the devices we use every day?
The best way of describing computer vision is, we know vision because we all have the ability, most of us have the ability to have the sight, the gift of sight, right? And so if you look at a computer, therefore, having the ability to perceive the world around us through the capabilities that we have through our vision, and that would then qualify as computer vision in the sense that you're processing visual information that is around you and be able to make some meaningful decisions based on the understanding that you have by processing the visual information. So that would be thought of as computer vision writ large.
So it's very important to kind of the architecture of how AI is working, right?
No, it is, because AI is essentially a mechanism by which what you understand then helps you to be able to gain knowledge and use that knowledge for further making the correlations, connections, and be able to help advance any application that you're trying to advance. If it's, let's say, transportation, right? So you're able to gather the information to computer vision. You have an understanding of what is happening. Imagine you're driving your car with the many cameras that you have. It understands what is in front of you and what is on your sides and even the back, right? Through the cameras. And you acquire the information. You process it, right? And then you gather from that, through the features that you process, you get an understanding of what is happening around you. And what then AI does is able to then learn from what is being processed so that it can be used for navigating you through terrains that may be already terrains that you have seen or terrains that are unknown, and being able to draw the correspondences from the terrains that we have known before to terrains that are similar or terrains that are unknown. You're trying to make connections to the unknown terrains. So that's the kind of thing that AI provides you, the ability to be able to learn from the data, to be able to predict, to be able to help make decisions. So these are the things where AI as a field is, augmenting the vision capabilities. And so the computer vision and AI then becomes a much more powerful way of being able to perceive the environment and act on it.
So we kind of contextualize that with vehicles and how it's kind of analyzing the environment. For people that are just hearing the term artificial intelligence, can you kind of explain what it actually is?
Yeah. No, it is basically that, when we as humans, when we see something, you classify whatever you see, right? When I see you, for example, if I've seen you before, I recognize you. If I have not seen you before, then I say, oh, he looks like this person. Or you attach a label to the new person that you're seeing, right? Even though you may classify it as closer to something, you say, now I know him, and I know that this is what his name is, and this is how he looks. And so all of the features that you have with your name then gets attached, right? And so now, if I start doing this for all the things that I encounter, and that helps me in recognition, but also helps me in things that I have not seen before and be able to classify it to the nearest possible match, right? And this kind of a way in which you are learning from the data. So here we're talking about vision, right? And recognition through vision. But it doesn't have to be vision. Any data for that matter, the more you're able to train based on the data that you have seen, and that's what you do as a human, right? Then you use that for not only understanding the data, recognizing similar things, patterns, but you're also able to navigate through things that you might not have seen before, but you have a sense of what it might be like based on that learning. So in a sense, you can say AI is basically a set of learning, prediction, and therefore being able to make progress in terms of making decisions for things where you need to make decisions. But it's mostly about how you're able to take the information that is at hand, process them, and then build models based on that through that learning. Those models then help you navigate through new data or a similar data or even exactly that data, depending on what the outcome is, whether you want to recognize or find the closest thing that is to it, or be able to build things with what you have learned and be able to now build things based on what you have learned.
So you said progress there, and I want to think about the future. Could you tell us some of the things that AI could be used for?
Everything that you can imagine in the world around you, because it's like asking the question, but what can a human be useful for? The question is no different, isn't it? Once you have a person who is capable of doing something, then you say that this person can do these things. So you take any task, right? Whether it is a driving task, whether it is a task that is based on, predicting the weather, or whether it is a task based on how do I learn what I need to learn which I don't know anything about. You take any task for that matter. You can always find a way that AI can be useful in that context, because at the end of the day, it is all about data, learning from the data, building models, and then using those models, then being able to predict based on what is not known yet. So these are the kinds of things that you do in every aspect of your life. I mean, look at your everyday activity, right? Right from the time that you wake up until you go to sleep, right? Every activity that you encounter is based on some kind of a recognition, pattern recognition, as some kind of a decision that you make, or some kind of a learning that you have that helps you for the future, right? And some kind of new hypotheses that you develop based on the information that you have gathered, right? All of these things are what you do every day in your life from morning to night. It's one or more of these kinds of things. So AI for me is exactly similar to that. It's now an agent instead of a human who is essentially facing the same set of things. A lot of data. There are existing models. You build new models or refine the models, right? Use it for recognition or using it for developing the closest match or using it for developing, newer hypotheses or helping us in making decisions. So all of these things are what, we do as humans, and therefore AI can do similar things in any field that you can think about.
Right. Is part of the challenge then deciding what fields it's most beneficial to use it in?
I mean, it depends on which field where you need the most help in, and particularly in terms of being able to automate more easily, if you could put it that way. So the low-hanging fruit opportunities might be easier to build models with a small amount of data, still be able to do meaningful things. But that does not preclude us from building these mega models that you hear about, ChatGPT and others, which can be useful for a variety of other applications. So at the end of the day, it is not limited, but it depends on what you want to apply that for and with what level of efficiency and efficacy that you want that model to work for you, or that particular, solution to work for you. And that's what it is based on. And so if you take health, there are aspects of health that can benefit from using AI in all the way from understanding the genome to all the way to delivering patient care, right? Individualized, personalized patient care. If you take health, if you take transportation, you can have a lot of automation built into the transportation. You can have a lot of safety features built because of the automation that is there in the transportation. It might help in terms of speeding up things versus, where they are right now in terms of what you can do with existing transportation infrastructures. So it could be in transportation, right? It could be in learning. A student now can find that they can do anything in terms of advancing their learning aspirations by being able to find what are those specific things that you find that you don't understand well. Now, for example, if you're taking a calculus course, okay, let's say that some of the calculus course requires you to have an understanding of mathematical concepts that were in your prior mathematics courses, but some of which you are very familiar with. Some of this you find that you either did not learn well or you've forgotten, whatever that might be. And so what happens is, depending on what you might need, you could go back and get the appropriate things filled up so that you're able to understand this new concept well. So essentially it becomes like your partner, if you may. Like you and the machine, in this case AI, are working together in terms of being able to expand your capabilities, your effectiveness, right? And so that's what makes it so interesting, exciting. In whatever field it is in, you can find something that will enrich you, empower you, augment you, make you a lot more effective and efficient.
There's a lot of fear with people and their job security and how this might impact that. Can you talk about some of the ways AI is going to be able to be worked alongside? How will it be a tool that benefits workers everywhere?
That's a good question. See, again, it depends on that. Work is such a broad thing, right? There are so many dimensions and classifications of the types of work. In every type of work, it doesn't matter whether you're a physician or a physician assistant, right? If you're a student, a tutor or a professor, right? If you are a truck driver or you're an automobile designer, it doesn't matter what your type of work is, right? You can always find those things where AI tools can be very helpful to you to enhance your capabilities and abilities, right? And I would say that the things that you may not be doing right now, which you are capable of, because you're doing the things that otherwise occupy you, if you're unburdened by those things, then you are able to now use your skill sets even more, and maybe your creative mindsets are expanded even more, right? An artist can now do even more creative art, right? A physician can do amazing diagnosis and treatment beyond where they are right now. All of these are possible because this becomes a companion for you. So in a sense, when people worry about, is my job going to be lost? It is not that you lose your job necessarily, as always the case. Yes, in some cases that might be the case, right? A machine maybe, or an AI device may be able to do that, what you do. But to me, that frees you up to doing other things, right? Now, the pace of progress clearly is much faster than it was before. I mean, you could argue that similar thing was true when tellers were there and then the ATM machines came about, yes, right? So you could think of it that those who are tellers, the 50 of them in a bank, now maybe there's one or two with the ATM machine, let us say, or what you do electronically with your mobile device. But those 48 other people have found other ways in which they are using their talents and skills, not necessarily only in the bank environment, but in other environments. This is what will happen with AI too, is that the jobs of today, some of them will be augmented, enriched, enhanced. Some of them will be lost, in which case people will naturally gravitate to learning those skill sets and mindsets that they will expand to being able to create the new jobs of the future or to do the new jobs of the future. So it's very hard to say by looking at only a static picture of where we are and saying, well, what I am doing today be gone, is a very narrow perspective through which you look at the world, right? It's much more broader than that. Now, comes with it associated questions and things that we ought to do. So there is no longer this feeling that, you had this 18 years of education or 21 years of education or 25 years of education, whatever that is that you do, and then you go take a job and then you stay with the job. And that was no longer true even a couple of decades ago, and it's no more becoming less and less true now, right? So you can imagine, therefore, that learning is a lifelong pursuit. You're constantly upskilling, reskilling, retooling, learning new things. So it is not like, let me finish my studies and then I have my work. It's that learning and work and learning have become so intertwined that it is a symbiotic kind of activity. And in that kind of a scenario, nobody is outdated. No skill becomes unnecessary because you've acquired new skills, right? So your skill becomes different. It constantly shapes, modulates itself, and so on. So that's something that is very interesting as a paradigm shift, if you want to look at it that way. But what is even more exciting is that you can think of the kind of jobs that you were doing that you felt like, why am I doing all of this, right? is now going to be replaced by machines that can do the job, that allows you to express your skill, ability, creativity, and other kinds of abilities that you have to be able to express in its fullest form. And we may not even know what they are, right? Some of these things may not have even come out of you because you've been, I don't want to use the word burden, but you have been engaged in those activities that have not let your creativity manifest itself in its fullest form, right? Human talent is capable of doing a lot more than what we think, I think I want to look at it from that futuristic perspective. Because if you look at anything which is empowered by technology, will be thought of as, oh my God, this is going to take away something from me. Mm-hmm. But that is only by imagining yourself as that just static picture of today, but not envisioning what it could be the tomorrow.
So thinking about tomorrow, I want to ask you about how NSF is working to kind of guide how AI is developed in the United States.
You laid the questions, so clearly. You said, what areas does AI have an impact? And I almost answered the question by saying everything and anything, right? And, what kind of impact it will have on humans. We talked about the potential is, amazing and it could be enormous. We talked about that. What kind of things it will do for jobs? I answered by saying that it can empower you, enrich you, and so on. So when you look at that, NSF is engaged in every dimension of all of this, all the way from looking at if you need to have a device. The device starts with understanding what the materials are, to building the devices, to building the technology, right? And you look at the physics of it, the chemistry of it, the mathematics of it, and the engineering of it, all of that, and the design of it. All of that is something that NSF makes possible through its various directorates, right? Then you look at all the applications that it can be put to use, whether it is a geoscience application, like, it could be exploring the planet and finding solutions for challenges like climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and so on. It could be that, right? Or it could be a bioscience problem where you're trying to understand the fundamental basis of how the human body functions, all the way from a cell, right? And how might you personalize, personalized strategies for having a good health outcome all the time. A bioscience directorate has those kinds of things. How can you build better environments by having a good understanding of biology and so on? Then you look at our social behavioral economic sciences directorate, and all the work that NSF does is, at the end of the day, it is all about interfacing with the human. And all the aspects that come with the social, the behavioral, the ethics, the policy, all of that is all centered around the work that the Social Behavioral Economic Sciences Directorate works on, right? And as I said, the Mathematical Physical Sciences Directorate. And if you look at applications like astronomy, understanding where we came from, right? Again, all of that and more is what NSF is constantly engaged in. And when we talk about educating the future, the talent of the future, again, our education directorate and all of the directorates are engaged with educating, helping with educating better K-12 students, better undergraduate students, graduate students, better community college students, skill sets that all of these students build, better research, and then all constantly in all of these things, pushing the boundaries of discovery. And then providing the platforms that allow all of this to manifest itself in terms of better industries of the future, better entrepreneurial outcomes, better entrepreneurs, all of these things. I mean, I can go into every aspect of it. You will find that's why NSF is a unique agency. It touches pretty much every aspect of what is needed for us to deliver the futures that we are talking about. Okay, as much as AI as a field is important, but AI gets touched by and influences a host of other disciplines, areas, and so therefore it is a comprehensive picture, not just only what we do in the Computing Information Sciences Engineering Directorate, whereas AI has been involved for the last several decades of investment, which is what has brought us to us today, 50, 60 years. But we're also investing in AI institutes, right? Which means that we are looking at every possible avenue by which AI can be further propelled into the future, but what AI can do to propel things into the future. These AI institutes are tremendous investments, right? That's another thing that you have seen that we do here. So if you look at the collective investments in AI, around AI, and what NSF makes as writ large in various fields of science, engineering, and technology, you find that all of that means something for the advancement of this into the future.
For the final question today, I want to ask you about the future. What about how AI is developing excites you the most?
I think what excites me the most is, I've always believed that the human potential is enormous, right? But yet, if you look at globally, in our nation too, but globally, I don't think we have been able to exercise all of the human ingenuity, the innovative mindset, and the human spirit, right? And so what AI portends and presents to us the opportunity to be able to unleash all of the human potential for the benefit of humanity and beyond, right? And that to me is very exciting, that we will be able to do that at scale and at speed and everywhere, not limited to a few locations. That really makes it very exciting. And imagine, let's take our nation, right? Imagine every area, rural area, every urban area, all the 50 states and territories of our country, and people everywhere being empowered, energized to be able to exercise their talent to the fullest without any holding back, without any constraints. Imagine that. That can do amazing things for our nation and build tremendous prosperity for our nation, and through that, have prosperity possible all across the globe.
Special thanks to Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan. For the Discovery Files, I'm Nate Podker. Please subscribe wherever you get podcasts, and if you like our program, share with a friend and consider leaving a review. Discover how the U.S. National Science Foundation is advancing research at nsf.gov.